Okay, I just finished editing my last video, and it made no sense. Everything I said just came out like a garbled mess. It was confusing. It was just kind of crazy. It's all over the place. It's not a big deal, but it's going to drive me nuts if I don't get this thought out, because it's opened everything up. It's making some sense that I haven't had yet. So I'm going to try. Bear with me or don't. You don't have to watch if you don't want to, but I'm going to try to make sense of this. I'm going to try to make this clear and as short as possible, okay? Bear with me. I had a problem when I first started smoking where this one pipe that was a pot shaped would always get really hot and all the tobacco would burn up, or if I put a flake in there, it would get really hot and I'd have a bunch of condensation. And I couldn't figure out why this was. Eventually I realized it's because I'm putting too much heat onto that thing. And if you've got ribbon cut or like ready rubbed in a pot shaped pipe, let me show you my drawing here. You know, I don't have a red marker. I've just got a blue one, so you have to bear with me. But you see that it's wide, it's squat, and it's wide open, right? Like a fire pit. Well, you add a ton of flames, a bunch of heat to that. If it's like ribbon cut, it's just going to burn all that tobacco up, and your pipe gets really hot in the process. If you put a flake in there and you add a ton of heat to it, well, it might like kind of light the flake and get it smoldering a little bit, but it still won't burn properly, and your pipe is still getting super hot, and now you've got a bunch of condensation. I thought maybe this is because I'm adding too much heat, and I need to reduce the heat. Maybe I should toast the top of it lightly and then just let it smolder, right? And that solved the trick. That did an amazing job of smoking Englishes, for example, Burleys, anything loose. But it didn't solve the problem of trying to smoke flakes in a tall chimney. Every time I tried to toast and smolder like this, I'm not getting anything, right? I'd pack it real tight and toast smolder, and it just wouldn't get lit. Mainly this is the problem with Gawith, with Samuel Gawith stuff, because it's pretty moist and it's got that weird wax stuff on it anyways. Not long after that, I see a video where Mushroom Leg is saying, you gotta always use the loose stuff in a pot, always put your flakes in a chimney, because they're packed in there tighter, right? There's less airflow. And it's like, well, that's what I've been doing. But it didn't sink home what he was really saying, which is you really want them packed tight. You really, if the problem over here is that with flakes is that there's too much air moving around, then when you put it in the chimney, you need to ensure that you've got restricted air. You don't want to choke the thing out so it can't smoke, but you need it to be fairly tight, right? I think that the problem I've had in chimneys, with Gawith blends in particular, is I haven't had them packed quite tight enough. If you pack them tight enough, then you can apply a lot of heat up top and create the cherry. You can't do that over here because it's so squat, the pipe gets hot, you create condensation. Remember I said that if you put looser tobacco in here and add a bunch of heat, it burns it all up. But you put a flake in here and add a bunch of heat, it doesn't burn it all up. It also doesn't smoke it very well because it's wide open and flat. You can take a flake, put it in here, and add lots of heat. And it will create that cherry, and then you can smoke it down. So to test that theory, what I did last night is I packed a chimney. I called it a pot in the video. It is technically a pot shape. The chamber is actually more chimney. It's narrow. I packed a chimney with a flake as heavy as I could, as tight as I could, while still allowing some air through. Then I really applied a lot of heat up top, and it smoked like a gem. So the takeaway here is that if you've got a tobacco that's really hard to ignite, that is packed tight, you want to put it in a tight, restrictive chamber and add a lot of heat up top and then slowly draw it through like you would if you're lighting a cigar, right? But if you've got looser tobacco, as Ray says, you want to put it in an open, flat, squat kind of thing, toast it, and let it smolder. In a pot shape, you want to use looser tobacco with toast smolder. With that method, lightly toast the top and then just let it sit and smolder. If you have firmer tobaccos like flakes, like moist stuff, you want to pack them fairly tight, pretty darn tight, in a chimney and apply a ton of heat up top and then pull it through, draw it through. With a ribbon cut or ready rubbed, you want a pot shape with a toast smolder approach. With a flake, you want a tall skinny chimney with a really hot burn up top for a coal that you draw through. I was trying to do the coal drawing through method in a pot, and it wasn't working. All it did was make it hot, which consumed all the loose tobacco and kind of smoldered the flakes, but created condensation. I'm repeating myself here because I'm trying to get this thought out clear, and I'm hoping it makes sense. I wasn't getting the Sammy stuff or other flakes to burn that great in the chimney because I thought, hey, I've learned toast smolder method over here. I need to apply that here. And you can't do that because it's too tall. Like toast smolder ain't going to work on a flake that's too wet and it's too firm. And if you put loose tobacco in here and try toast smolder, it does kind of work. It doesn't burn as well as it does here, but it does kind of work. It works well enough to have me convinced that it was a viable method. I'm starting to realize it's not. In a chimney, you pretty much never want to toast and smolder. You want to pack as tight as you can without, cutting off all the airflow. And then get a real hot cherry up top. And then draw it through. I hope that makes some sense of the nonsense that I've for months now been talking. Again, for the last time, I swear, and I'll shut up about this, I'll never mention it again as, an obsessive compulsive instructional type video thing, whatever. I'll leave this alone, okay? For the last time. If you have a pot, you want looser tobacco, toast. Toast? Smolder method. If you've got looser tobaccos, you want them in a pot with a toast smolder method. For a chimney-shaped pipe, you want to have a coal draw method using a firmer, harder packed tobacco. Firmer, harder packed tobaccos must be in a chimney with the coal draw method. Right? What I did the other night was go even tighter than I've ever gone before with packing that chimney. Like real tight. Like I said, a fat kid being shoved into a manhole. And then I scorched that top of it. I mean, I put tinder up there and I burned the crap out of it. Let it sit. Came back and tamped down that charred stuff up top with a char light, duh. Then lit it again after it cooled off, and it worked. That's all I'm saying. That's the really simple, oh my God, amazing insight that everybody else probably already knows. It took me 2.5 years to figure out. Kind of blew my mind.